Hi, good evening. Welcome to Stir Crazy. I'm 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and it's Valentine's Day. And so we've got some fabulous cocktails for you tonight, which are all based around love potions and things that sort of get you excited. And so obviously alcohol is one of those great liberators, but there are other things as well, aphrodisiacs. And so we have a lovely aphrodisiac loaded cocktail box for you tonight. So the first thing I'm going to do is just show you what's in that cocktail box. And so the first thing we need to do is, when we're unpacking our box, you will find that you've got 4 little bottles marked 1, 2, 3 and 4. Those are for 2 of the drinks. For those of you who've done this before, you'll know the way this format works, but for those who are new to us, welcome. And yeah, those are 2 of the drinks. And then also what you'll have is 2 pouch cocktails which are ready to drink, and I'll get to those as well, and I'll show you how to make all of these cocktails from absolute scratch. And so the way we make these cocktails is very similar to the way we make them in the bar, ● Curiosities or ● our other sister bar. And what we do is we'll quite often batch up spirits, and it's to speed up service, and it still gives that same sense of theatre of making the drink and having that sort of cocktail bar experience, but it allows us to layer up loads of flavours, use lots of homemade ingredients, and bring that together in the cocktail at the bar. And so what we've done is we've kind of redone that and miniaturized it for you guys, so you can see how we're making the different cocktail elements and whatnot as well. But what I will do is go through step by step each element of that cocktail. So as I said, the first thing we've got in there is bottles 3 and 4, 1 and 2 for 2 different drinks, and then also you should have in there 2 pouch drinks as well, 5 and 6. You should also have a cheat sheet in there, so if I get ahead and you want to refer back to it, this will give you an idea of how to make those drinks as well. So it gives you an idea of how it looks as well, and all of that as well. And so the other things you'll have in there is straw for one of our cocktails. That's for our first cocktail. You will also have in there some lovely little sweets. Those are just for you to eat as well. We've got the obligatory love hearts and a lollipop. So the other things we've got is some little milk chocolate buttons there as well. Those are to melt for one of our glasses, so you will need to glue this in the microwave just on a plate, and you can then rim the glass as well. I've already done this one up in front. Lastly, you'll have a little garnish bag there as well, and the garnish bag has some rosebuds and a lime wheel in there as well, and that'll be needed for later as well. So without much ado, I'm going to get on to the first cocktail, and we'll start making that and give you a drink to go with. The first drink we're going to be doing is a smash, and for this we need certain types of glassware and certain types of equipment. And so before I start that, I'll just go through the glassware we're going to be using. For the first glass, you can use a highball, a rocks, a tumbler, so any glass that's quite big. I'm using a stemless wine glass here for this drink, and so I'll be using that for the first drink. The second drink we're going to be doing is our aphrodisiac, and that is we need a tiny little martini glass or tiny wine glass. I'm using this little specialised Nick and Nora glasses, which is used for this style of cocktail. The third glass we need is a martini glass, and this is for our coffee liqueur drink and chocolate drink that we're going to be doing. And what I've done is I've already, as you can see, I've already lined that with chocolate. So a good thing to do is early on is to get that done, and what you can do is you can take your little chocolate beads, put them on a plate, just pop them in the microwave for 10-15 seconds usually does it, and they'll melt down, and then you just need to literally rotate your glass upside down in that melted chocolate, and then just pop it in the fridge, and you'll have this lovely chilled chocolate rimmed cocktail. So the last glass we're going to use is a rocks glass as well, so just an old-fashioned or tumbler glass. So those are our 4 glassware. I'm just going to pop those to one side for now, and I'll come back to those glasses towards the end. And as I said, the first glass we're going to be using is either use a highball. I'm using a stemless wine glass for this. It's for a smash, and so this will be our first drink here. Now, this cocktail will be using bottles 1 and 2, but we will also be needing some shaved ice as well, and crushed ice. So the easy way to crush ice is if you've got a tea towel and you can wrap it up in that, and I'm using this as specifically made, this is a Lewis bag and mallet, and so what we do is we fill this up with the ice and we smack it and we crush it. But what you can do is we can just do that and fill it up, and with a tea towel, wrapped tea towel, cotton tea towel preferably, and then you just give it a good whack to break up all that ice into small pieces. And it's the old-fashioned way they used to make shaved ice or crushed ice. And so I'm going to be using some of that in this one as well. So what we're going to be doing with this, it's a really simple style of cocktail, this one. And as I said before, this is all about aphrodisiacs. And the aphrodisiac comes from the Greek goddess of love, Aphrodite, and so it's named after that. It is also the Greek goddess of love. The name in the Roman days was Venus, and so when you have Venus emerging from the shore, which was by Botticelli, it's this lovely depiction of Venus in a big clamshell, coming along with sort of rolling waves coming in, and it's just full of all these sort of lovely sort of anecdotes about love and passion and the goddess Venus. And so our first cocktail is called the Venus Smash, and the idea behind this is to create this lovely riff, modern riff on a smash using a couple of aphrodisiac ingredients as well in it. So as I said before, we're going to need that rocks glass there, and the first thing we're going to do with this is take our crushed ice, and then we're just going to fill that glass all the way up with crushed ice. So I'm going to go about 2/3 full to start, and I'm just going to pour that in, and you can just see there it's got a lovely amount of shaved ice in there now. And then the easy thing with this cocktail is I'm going to use another thing here, which is a mixing glass and spoon. And so with this, what we do is we stir down our ingredients, and this is historically used for things like martinis and such like as well, and it just allows us to stir all the ingredients up and then pop it into our drink. And so I'm just going to pop a little bit of ice there, not much, and then I'm going to pour both of my ingredients over there. So what you need to do is just empty the contents of bottles 1 and 2 over your drink here and into your glass. I'm just going to go through what's in those bottles. So 1 and 2 all over there completely. So the first ingredient we have in this glass is essentially 35 milliliters of this Absolute Lime vodka, and I wanted to do a slight difference on a smash in the fact that it's not usually done with vodka. And when we think of smashes, they are kind of created, they were originally done in the Victorian era, and there were these lovely shaved ice drinks when they would have shaved ice, and so it has all of that in there as well. The next bit we've got is this lovely 𝗏𝗏𝗏 fig liqueur de figue, and so I'm just going to put in there about 15 milliliters of that as well, and that is in essence pretty much mostly what is in your first bottle. And so for me, the next thing we've got in this ingredients is our first of our proper aphrodisiacs, so it's ginseng. So I'm just going to put in there a couple of little drops of ginseng, and that's all in your bottle number 1. In bottle number 2, we have this absolutely exquisite mint syrup that we've acid adjusted. So we've taken fresh mint leaves, we've pounded them into sugar, got all the flavour out of them, we've then made the syrup out of it, added a tiny bit of green dye, food dye, just to give it that colour. It's natural food dye, and I'm just going to pour that over. So that is basically what you've got in bottles 1 and 2 now. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stir that down just for a second, just to mix all the ingredients, that's all. No, it's not really chilling it because we've got the ice to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strain that into my glass over my shaved ice. Now, as you can see, it's not full yet, so I'm just going to top that up now to the brim with a bit more cubed ice. And then my garnish for this in your garnish bag is the lovely lime wheel. And this one, because it's with flake ice, I don't really need to stir it down at all on this one because it's been stirred down in the glass. The next thing, what I do need is obviously my straw, which is in your box there. I'm just going to put the straw in there as well. Now, if you've got some mint at home, this is always a nice way to garnish this as well, is with a little bit of fresh mint, and you can just literally do that just to give it a little bit of a break. And I'm just going to pop that in there as well. We can't send the fresh mint out just because it doesn't travel particularly well, but it's just an extra little garnish on this drink as well. So it's a really simple drink to make, this is Smash, and it's we've done a lot of the heavy lifting for you in that syrup at the beginning, and also with those other ingredients as well. And so when we look at Smashers, these kind of, as I said, they could sort of date around the 1880s, and so they came into, and it was seen as kind of, and if you look at Jerry Thomas's How to Mix Drinks, so if I look at this very first cocktail book, and in here there are 3 different smashes. There is a gin smash, a brandy smash, and a whiskey smash. And it states at the top, this beverage is simply a julep on a small pan. So it's like a mint julep, and that's why we've got that lovely mint syrup in there. And so historically, the first one we got, that gin smash, it says use a small bar glass, add 1/2 teaspoon of white sugar, 1 tablespoon of water, 1 wine glass of gin. Fill 2/3 with full of shaved ice, use 2 sprigs of mint, and the same recipe for a mint julep. So again, you're just doing that, recreating that mint julep, but without the can. Lay on top 2 small pieces of orange, and then ornament with berries of the season. So we've kind of got that citrus on top with the lime there, rather than using the actual one there. And we've kind of got this lovely, lovely flavour there. And you can see that lovely soft mint colour that we've got throughout the drink now in this. And when you taste that, you'll get that lovely, lovely flavour come through. The lime comes through from the vodka. There's a little bit of acidity in that cordial, which is lovely. And then also you've got this lovely freshness of the fig liqueur. And the mint really pops on the palate when it opens up as well on that as well. And so that is one of our first drinks. And so when we're looking at that, what aphrodisiacs have we got in there? So the first we've got is ginseng. And so ginseng is kind of an Asian root. It's they have an Asian and American variety of ginseng, and it's a herb, and it historically helps libido and sexual performance. It's kind of one of these things that affects the central nervous system, altering hormones, and it's basically, they've done blind tests on this, and when they did blind tests with ginseng and with without ginseng, so the placebo, it was seen that the ginseng variants, the people taking the ginseng, their libido and their sexual performance was almost 2 to 3 times as effective without it. So, so the scientific blind studies have been done with that, and it's kind of in the bank now, and it's kind of seen as one of those things. And a lot of these sort of aphrodisiacs, they have these similar kind of properties. And then obviously the second one we have in there is the liqueur de figue. And so this is made from a fig liqueur by 𝗩𝗏𝗏. So the same company as this, 𝗩𝗏𝗏 here, and they're a fantastic French liqueur company. And so fig is seen as, for several reasons, why it is a kind of aphrodisiac. First of all, just the look of it, and it's like when you open the thing, the flesh of it, it has these sort of essences. There's a slight rudeness to it, and so that is one of the first reasons why it is. Also, the way you eat a fig when you do it, it's just that same thing. It's a little bit risque, and it's been as that kind of naughty fruit, and in the same way that some of the shellfish are as well. And so it has this lovely seductive appearance of a sliced fig. And but there's also benefits to be had from eating them as too, and it has this fantastic sex drive sort of boosting amino acids, and alongside this it has magnesium, which is an essential sort of facilitating sex hormone production, and also helps with the essence of secreting pheromones and everything like this. So all of these ingredients are there to get your libido going and just to get people in the mood. And so ginseng and fig are 2 of the biggest aphrodisiacs, and so we had to start that with that one. So I hope you like that, and that is our first drink, which is our smash. Now there's been very big riffs on this done over the years, and there's particularly one which was a gin basil smash, which was back in 2008. This guy in Hamburg called Jörg Mayr created this drink, and it's sort of taken off worldwide. And it uses the fresh basil leaves instead of that mint, but again using gin as well as that background flavour. With this one, we've sacrificed out the juniper on it, and we've gone for vodka. It's a real crowd pleaser, and I think you'll like this as much as I do. So cheers guys, and happy Valentine's Day. And that is our first drink. absolutely pops on the palate. It's delicious. So our next drink that we're going to be doing here is a real play on words, and for that I'm going to need a glass, which is this glass, which is a little Nick and Nora glass I'm using. So if you've got a little martini glass, small martini glass like that will do, a little wine glass. Again, it's quite a small one, and for this what we're going to be using is that pouch number 5. So when you've got your pouches there, that slightly pinky coloured pouch number 5. Now hopefully you put that in the freezer, and as per the instructions on the thing, and it should be nice and cool. So this is literally, if you've got a nicely chilled glass, just pour it into that glass and it's ready to drink. There's no garnish, there's no nothing on it. It's just in that lovely Nick and Nora glass, and you don't need to do anything. If you've got a chilled glass and your pouch, you just pour the whole thing in and it's ready to drink. That's the whole terminology, ready to drink. It is that ready to drink. And so we do a lot of these cocktails with Stir Crazy and Drinks. We've got a whole load which will be ready to drink cocktails, which will be going out pretty much in the next few days on our website. And we've got some great cocktails going on there, which are 2 portions per pouch, and you can order those and we can post them out to you, and they're letterbox friendly as well, so they can just go straight through your letterbox without you having to be in if necessary as well. And so yeah, really good with that. So this next one, I'm going to be showing you how to make this from scratch again. It's a really simple thing. It's a kind of riff on a daiquiri, but not. It's more like a gimlet, but it's a rum gimlet. And so for those of you who've tried our gimlets before, you'll know they've got this lovely sort of history going back to the naval profession. And there was an admiral and ship's doctor called Gimlet, who is thought to be named after. There was also, it might be named after a tool for tapping rum barrels called a gimlet as well, in the sort of 1800s as well, that was on ships. But the gimlet historically was made using Rose's lime cordial, and this Rose's lime cordial was a way of stopping scurvy and rickets and keeping vitamin C in people, and it was added to their gin rations on a boat, and by proxy you had this lovely drink that was created for the Navy. This kind of gimlet I'm doing now is completely different. We've kind of made a rum version, so it's airing towards a daiquiri, which is that lovely simple sour of lime juice, rum and sugar. And so this one we haven't used lime juice though, we've used watermelon. And so what we've got is I've got a lovely watermelon cordial here, and what I'm going to do is, yours is already diluted down to the right consistency, so everything will be in there exactly the way you need it. But I'm just going to show you what we've got in this particular drink. So in here what I've got is 40 millilitres of Havana Club 3-year-old rum. And I love this rum. It's just, for me, it's a real benchmark on sort of that Cuban style of rum. And this one particularly, it's great for mojitos, absolutely one of my best favourites for daiquiris. I think I've only got one more rum more favourite for daiquiris, and that is the 𝗩𝗏𝗏 Plantation Freestyle. If you want to know a bit more about rum, we're going to be doing a rum masterclass as well as our first birthday at the end of March, so that's a bit of a heads up, long heads up for that one. But yeah, so I've got 10 millilitres of 𝗩𝗏𝗏𝗏 cachaça. Now that's a pure sugarcane rum distillate from Brazil, and so I love this as well. I'm thinking Cuba, and I'm thinking these fantastic salsa dancers in Cuba. I'm thinking of capoeira and all of that sort of sensual sort of Brazilian beats as well, and I kind of want to put that into this glass. And so for me that's absolutely essential when I'm thinking that kind of tropical flavours. It has to be rum based. So I'm just going to pop that into my mixing glass. I'm then going to add in a little bit of ice just to start stirring this down. So the next thing we've got in there is a watermelon cordial. And so what we've done with this is we've taken fresh watermelon, and I have literally just poured into that, put sugar in it. I've got 30 millilitres there. And so we've got this fresh watermelon, and we steep it in sugar, and it extracts all the moisture out of that watermelon. And what we do is we then add in acids, and we add 3 different acids. This is one of them. This is tartaric acid, and this is usually from grapes. And so these are powders, and we do about 10 grams of each per litre of syrup to get our cordials, and it gives a lovely acidic bite to it, a lovely tart bite, and it sort of fakes this syrup into almost being the same acidity and a bit of the same flavour profile that you would get with citrus fruit or lime juice. And so by doing that, what we've done is we've kind of created an acidified sweet syrup. So it's very much like those citrus fruits, but we use a blend of 3 acids. So you can buy the acids online. If you watched our Acid House one last week, you'd have had quite a bit of an instruction from that, from Fabulous Jake as well. And so, but this one, what we're doing is I'm just going to stir this one down. As I said, you can just be drinking yours as we speak, because it just needs to be poured into a chilled glass, straight cold from the fridge. So a really super simple one for you to do there. So I'm just stirring mine down a little bit just to get it down to temperature and dilution, and then I'm just going to strain that out into my Nick and Nora glass. And the Nick and Nora glass is actually named after 2 people. They're called Nick and Nora Claire, if I remember rightly, but they were from a book called The Thin Man, which was made into a TV series and a film as well. And essentially, the main character, the detective in it, Nick, was an absolute lush alcoholic and big booze hound, and his wife was a kind of rich socialite. And so this whole glassware, the Nick and Nora glass, is kind of named after that couple from the 1930s, and so it sort of comes from there. And it was designed sort of around the 30s as well. And you can see it just holds this sort of gimlet and martini absolutely perfectly. And so without much ado, I'm just going to have a little sip of that. Yeah, and you get that lovely tartness come through at the back of the palate on that one, and you can really taste that watermelon, and that's what I really want to do with this one. And so, as I said, you've got this kind of funky flavour on there as well, and that richness comes from the cachaça. It's like, it's not as clean as if you had a straight daiquiri, but I wanted something that really counteracted the sweetness of that watermelon and everything in there as well with that. And so when we're drinking this one, it's a lovely sip. It's a little sort of, they get you drunk quite quickly, so be careful with these. They are all quite strong, and so each drink is 2 units, so it's 8 units across all these cocktails. So if the booze doesn't get you, if the aphrodisiacs don't get you, the booze will. So so why watermelon? And watermelon is seen as one of these amazing aphrodisiacs, and people always say, really, watermelon? And it's like, yeah, it's like stupidly high in a thing called lycopene and also citrulline, and both of these are phytonutrients, and what they do is they essentially increase the amount of nitric acid in the body. So when you're eating watermelon, it's increasing the amount of nitric acid in the body, and this nitric acid increases blood flow, increases the blood flow, vessel relaxation, and aids sexual arousal. And so the effect in the body is quite similar on a lesser scale to Viagra. And so it's not just limited to men as well, it has the same effect on an increased sex drive in women as well. And so watermelon's one of these great things. It also has these lovely sort of, evokes these memories of beach time and tropical passion and all that kind of thing when we think of watermelon as well. And so it's that lovely pink flesh as well. And it's like, for me, that's what we're looking for in these fabulous aphrodisiacs. It's just such a great flavour as well. And it's like, this is a drink that just goes down way, way, way too easily. So this is, as I said, it's named after a sort of kind of daiquiri, even though it's a style of gimlet, and we had to call it the aphrodisiac. And yeah, it's our second drink of the night. So enjoy, guys. For our third drink, what we're going to be looking at is a shaken cocktail. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be needing a martini glass for this one, and hopefully you will have done a chocolate rim on your glass there. And so, as I said before, just take your little chocolate buttons, and with this one, what you can do is you can literally melt those on a plate in a microwave, and then you just need to upend your glass, turn it round in your actual chocolate, and it will give you this lovely little chocolate cruster on the outside of the glass there. The that is the garnish for the drink. So there's going to be no other garnish on top of it other than that as well. It's that lovely chocolate flavour that we've got going through it. Now this drink has some stupendous ingredients in it. It's a super decadent, super voluptuous and flavourful. It's a real mouth bomb, and it's kind of my big showpiece for the evening on here. We've just loaded in these layers of flavours of aphrodisiac ingredients. So the first ingredient that we've kind of got in here is this fantastic 𝗪𝗏 cognac. And so cognac's one of these luxury ingredients, and the VS is their sort of benchmark. It's where it starts from. And for a VS cognac to have so much punch and flavour and delicious vanillins and all the rest of it coming through it is just absolutely exquisite. The second ingredient we've got is this 𝗪𝗿 chocolate vodka liqueur, and this is from the USA. It is absolutely sensational. I did a whole thing with this. I had a Zoom chat with Danny 𝗪𝗿, and he, I think, God, what was it? It was about almost 10 months ago. And I had a great chat with him for about 45 minutes, an hour, talking through how he learned how he started hitting this, making this stuff for mates in the New York sort of house party scene about 15-20 years ago. And so he started making it and experimenting with it, and he would turn up with a bottle of his chocolate vodka for someone for every time he turned up to a house party or dinner party in these New York socialites. And it got to the point where they were all waiting for this stuff, and if he didn't turn up with it, they were gutted. And so he created this, he spent years perfecting this, and then he's a British guy, and so when he's over there, he sort of creates this product, but then he has to get it through the whole FDA process of certifying it. And it took him like, God, forever, like 6-7 years. And then finally a few years ago, he got it and started producing it. So this is batch number 5. So this is how few batches he's done of this, but it is decadent and in the extreme. It pours like liquid gold, and it's just so thick and gloopy that you only need a tiny amount of this in the cocktail to give it a massive chocolate pop. And so, yeah, it's one of those things. You can buy this from places like Masters of Malt and Whiskey Exchange, I think both stock it. And if you want something that is super indulgent, super chocolatey, if you're a chocolate freak, absolutely get a bottle. It is delicious. It's not cheap, but you can't buy cheap products that are this exquisite and this indulgent. And Valentine's is all about spoiling yourself and being indulgent. And you can just see here, it's looking at the inside of the lid, it's like it's got this little chocolate penny already there. So that's our second ingredient. The third ingredient we're going to be using is crème de cacao. And so in this one, what you need is your bottles number 3 and 4. Yeah, so this is what we're going to be doing for this. You'll need a cocktail shaker as well, and hopefully you've chilled your glass down a bit in the fridge, and we'll need some ice for this, and a cocktail shaker and strainer. And essentially what I want you to do is just empty bottles 3 and 4 into your cocktail shaker, and then we'll be good to go. So as I said, this one here has several ingredients in. The first one I'm going to be putting into this is just a little bit of the 𝗪𝗏 crème de cacao. And so I'm just going to grab my jigger there. And so this is all in your bottle number 3 here. So in bottle number 3, we've got our first ingredient, which is 15 millilitres of 𝗪𝗏 crème de cacao liqueur. This is a dark cacao liqueur. And so this is basically a lovely, rich, velvety chocolate liqueur. It's 25% ABV, so it's got a little bit of strength to it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is add in my 𝗪𝗿 chocolate liqueur. And I only need literally about 10 millilitres of this. I'm just going to pour that in, and it's just so, you can kind of see it there, it's so gloopy and thick, and it just lines the inside of this bottle. It just sort of sticks to the inside of the bottle, and it's just absolutely decadent again. And again with this one, it's we've got 32% proof, so it's only about 16% alcohol, but it's because there's so much damn chocolate in there, and it's just like, it's incredible. And the last bit we've got is 25 millilitres of the fabulous cognac here from 𝗪𝗏. I really wanted to do something different with this one. It's we've got layers upon layers of different sort of aphrodisiacs and exotic ingredients. And obviously the first and the biggest one, which we all know is an aphrodisiac, is that lovely chocolate. And this chocolate creates we've kind of got layers of chocolate, 3 different layers of chocolate. So we've got the 𝗥𝑎𝑜 liqueur, we've got the ℩𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and then we've got this lovely chocolate rim, the white chocolate rim, to give a bit of a contrast. And chocolate contains a thing called ●𝗏𝑦𝓚𝑎𝑙𝑎𝑛ine, and this is a stimulant, and it basically gives a sense of well-being and elicits excitement, and also has a bit of natural caffeine in the chocolate as well. And so all of this has this thing of basically getting the heart beating, a little dopamine hit of chocolate, and sense of sensualness as well. And it's just indulgent, dark and lovely. Cognac in its own right, it's like the champagne of brandies. It has this lovely luxurious mouthfeel, and this one particularly all the way with it. The next thing we've got as an ingredient in there, which is in your bottle number 4, is 30 ml of our fabulous, I'm just going to pop that in, it's just empty in bottle number 4. So you should have whole of bottle number 3 and 4 in your shaker there now. And then what we're going to do is add this in as well. And so what's in bottle number 4? So what in there we've got is a salted caramel syrup, which we've made, which is obviously we make that by having butter, putting that through, caramelizing it a bit, and then making it into a lovely caramel, and then we make that into a syrup just by diluting it down, and gives this lovely buttery, silky mouthfeel. Again, then what we do is we've added in this cold brew coffee, which we do a really strong concentrate of cold brew, and this stops any bitterness coming through from the coffee beans when we brew it. So what we're going to do is we're going to give that, with some ice, a really good shake for about 15 seconds. What this does is chill it and aerate it, and as well as adding a little bit of dilution to the drink as well. Now we all know the fabulous espresso martini by 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, or vodka espresso, and this is another riff on that, but it just plays with it on so many different levels. It nods its hat to an espresso martini, but it really does deliver so many layers of flavour on this one. And so I'm just going to pour that one, and so when we pour that in, you'll see it's this lovely sort of separation happening with a kind of Guinness head forming, and it's that Guinness head that I want on this drink. And so I'm just going to let that settle out, and it will just slowly separate and form that head. And this is kind of what we're wanting with that. And so, as I said before, it's got that lovely Guinness feel in it, coffee in it as well. And that coffee head will be separating out nicely now. So the idea with this is that coffee is similar in chocolates as an aphrodisiac in some ways. And the caffeine in the coffee sort of stimulates and increases stamina, can elevate the mood, and it's like it sort of keeps you awake as well. And so it sort of increases those dopamine levels in the brain, and the stuff that increases desire and pleasure. And so as you can see, we've got this lovely drink now. I'm just going to have a sip of that now myself, so I can't wait to try it. Oh yeah, and I'm just getting so much richness of palate there. And so the chocolate just kind of dominates because of that ●𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and the cacao. But then you get this lovely rich undertone of cognac in that as well. But there's a coffee burst there as well, and there's a little bit of salted caramel just on the tip of the tongue. That just brings it all together. And again, this is just it's voluptuous, it's velvet in the glass. And it's like my velvet jacket I'm wearing now. It's literally that in a glass, I have to say. I mean, it's absolutely delicious. I could drink those all night long. I might be put on a bit of weight if I did that all day though, because as I said, they are absolutely indulgent, and when can you not be indulgent but on Valentine's Day? So yeah, that is kind of that is obviously, it's a riff on a classic espresso martini, but as you can see, it just delivers so much more and so many more flavours, and just pops on the palate and rolls on the palate so much, and so beautifully on that one as well. And yeah, that is kind of our third drink, the one before the end. And so that's kind of your dessert drink. And so you kind of had your palate opener at the beginning with that lovely smash. Then you kind of have that lovely richness of the gimlet, and then you've got almost your dessert, getting you even more sort of woken you up and giving you all that 𝗙𝗵𝗋. And so So the next one we're going to do is the bit that just tips you over the edge. And for this one, what we need is a rocks glass. And for this, we're going to need a nice big cube of ice in it as well. And this is going to be our pouch number 6. So if it's all going too quickly for you now, you can press pause on me, and this one can go be done shortly after as well. The last drink we're doing here is a kind of style of drink called an old-fashioned, and it's also got a nod to a martini as well, but we're doing an old-fashioned with the spirit of the moment, which is gin. And so what the gin I'm using today is this fabulous one, which is Bombay Dry. It's like it's Bombay Sapphire, but it's a drier, more traditional London dry gin on this one. And what we've done is we've infused this with rose water. So we've had a little bit of rose water there. And it's these lovely roses that evoke Valentine's Day. You can't have Valentine's Day without flowers. And so our last cocktail is that nod to that bouquet of flowers, that mixed spray of petals and aromatics and everything else, just to finally finish off the evening. And with this one, what we've done is we've steeped this in rose water first, so it's got this lovely floral note. So if you smell this drink, you'll get this lovely sense of rose. So the first thing I'm going to do with this, though, is put the other ingredients in as well. And so, as I said, this is all in pouch number 6. So the first thing that's in there is just 10 ml of a elderflower syrup. Now, back last year when all the elderflowers were blooming, you saw us making this, and we made so much of it. We went and picked sort of like 10 kilos of fresh elderflowers. And even now, we then add acid to that, we seal the bottles, we basically put them all in sterilised bottles, seal them, and then they stored in a dark room, and they last all year. And this is still going strong, this elderflower cordial that we made. And if you go back through our history on some of our YouTube channel, you'll quite often see some of our early ones, and there'll probably be one on the elderflower cordial there somewhere. Now, in an old-fashioned, usually what you have is you have sugar, you have Angostura bitters, and you have bourbon. Now we've turned the whole drink on its head, and so we've got that lovely elderflower cordial, that elderflower floral flavours coming through, that lovely sweetness of elderflower coming through. And then we've got this fantastic bitter truths, and it is blossom bitters. So when you smell this, it just smells like a bouquet of flowers. And I'm just going to put in a couple of dashes of that into our cocktail. Now, these bitters are kind of lifting bitters. They bring out all those floral notes that we really want to have in this drink. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just have in a double shot of the gin laced with our rose water. And so if you want to make this at home, it's just like, for a whole bottle of gin, it'll be about a capful, just under a capful of rose water, just a little bit. You don't want to overpower it, it's really strong stuff. But if you were doing it with a pipette and a drink, you'd just have a couple of drops in your gin as well. Or you can use a floral gin like Thunderflower, which is locally produced here. There's some really good floral gins out there. And so it's just literally that simple. The Bitter Truths Blossom Bitters, you can find that on places like Masters of Malt and such like as well. And now your one obviously is already stirred down because it's already diluted, so you literally can take it from the fridge, pour it over ice, it's ready to drink straight away. The last thing I'm going to do is just stir mine down, just to give it that little bit of dilution. Now if it's a bit strong, this drink, you can do the same. And these are quite strong drink. It's like a gin martini basically. It's strong, it's potent, and it's just a delicious drink to drink. Now If you've got some fresh flowers, you can put those on the garnish. You've got a little rosebud there. I'm going to use one of the little petals I've got here, just of that, and just float that on top of my rose there as well. If your boyfriend's bought you some roses, so you can do the same. And so yeah, this is our last drink, and this is our rose and elderflower old fashioned. And when you smell that, it's like bouquet bomb. It's like you've got all of those aromatics and botanicals that are in the gin in the first place, but then we've just built on it with those blossom bitters, that elderflower, and that lovely rose as well in there. So you've just got layer upon layer upon layer of floral loveliness. And it is just literally like drinking a bouquet of flowers. And I hope you're not all too smashed and you'll stay up late and everything. I hope you enjoy the drinks. It's been a lot of fun for me doing this one. These are great drinks to play around with and have some fun with. It's like all of these, the research into all these aphrodisiacs has been really good fun to find out all of them. And there's so many, chili peppers and things like that, bananas obviously for that, for the potassium. And there's all these different ones out there. And it's like, there's the obvious ones as well, like asparagus and also oysters and things like that. And they, but I kind of wanted to pick ones that might be a little bit more unusual. That's why I wanted the fig. It's why I wanted the watermelon. And again, chocolate, we had to do something with chocolate because it's Valentine's Day. Chocolates and roses, what more can we ask for? And I hope we've delivered on a fantastic Valentine's Day experience. Have a great evening, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. I'm just going to announce the current box that's on sale at the moment. We have an absolutely fabulous masterclass that's going to be done by Jacob, and Jacob's lovely guy, but he's going to be leaving to go up to London at some point once lockdown's over. He's got a fabulous job up there, so we want to wish him all the best of luck and a great thank you for everything he's done with ●𝗏𝐾razy. It's his sort of, his 𝗏𝗏𝗃 is going to be his next masterclass. He's doing a gin masterclass, and it's a gin tasting. So we've got 6 fantastic premium gins, from Japanese gins to all sorts. It's just like, there's a great tasting, and he's a real master of this. And so he's got that going, and then there's 2 amazing classic cocktails, and he'll teach you all about that. And it's tasting through 500 years of gin. And so from its Dutch origins right the way up to the modern gin craze that we're in the middle of at the moment. So I highly recommend that. It will be one of those ones that's probably going to sell out, so get your order in ASAP. It's a good 1¼ to 1½ hour masterclass, all about, you'll just learn everything about that spirit that you need to know. And yeah, as I said, cannot highly recommend that gin tasting more than enough. After that, it comes back to me, and it's St. Paddy's Day, which is in about a month's time. It's on the, I think the 13th or 14th, we're doing it of March. And obviously my namesake, I'm going to be having a great time. I'm really going to town on this. We're doing some Irish whiskey cocktails, but like nothing you've ever seen. It's like the flavours that I'm investigating for this. It's going to be some really wacky stuff. I'm really going to town on this one. But we're also going to be paying homage to a couple of those really cool Irish classics as well. So that one is coming up in about a month's time. And then after that one, we get to the point where it's our 1-year anniversary of ●𝗏𝗏𝗏, which also means it's a 1-year anniversary of lockdowns. So we're having a party. And so Saturday, the 27th of March, it's exactly a year since we first went out in here, me sort of not having a clue what I was doing and having a laugh with it. And yeah, we're going to do an absolutely awesome box that week. It's going to be all about rum. And for those of you who have been to our beach bar, ●𝗏𝗏𝗏, you'll know a lot of these rums and stuff like that. We've got rums from Plantation and all sorts of others as well, and there's some absolute stonkers in there. And so that's going to be a rum masterclass with rum cocktails. We're going to be loading it up with loads of stuff to celebrate our first birthday and commiserate with a year of freaking lockdowns. And so yeah, enjoy the rest of the evening. Have a great night. I hope we've made a little part of it special for you. Thank you again for all of your custom, all your support for the whole of this year. We cannot do it without you, and we are so pleased to be able to offer these masterclasses for you. And we hope we keep them fresh and interesting. Well, I absolutely love doing them. And again, I'm just going to, so yeah, tune in a couple of weeks' time. Jake's taking over the reins again. He's talking gin. It's a passion of his. I'm going to be watching it. It's fabulous. So yeah, enjoy. Thank you very much. Enjoy Valentine's, and good night.